Hey, welcome everyone. It is so nice to have you in the session today. And I want to talk about something that happens every single year. And that it happens to me. In fact, almost every person that I've spoken about, it's happened to them as well. And that is setting those wonderful New Year's resolutions. And I always ask people, what is your New Year's resolution? Because it's always great to understand, what is that change that you want to do in your life? And then we come to realize that suddenly February comes past, June comes past, August comes past, November comes in, and we haven't even started that New Year's resolution. It seems to be something that, well, we're waiting. I'm not sure what we're waiting for, but we're waiting for something to click, for it to come into place. Now, we know that millions of us around the planet, we all set these New Year's resolutions, and we actually typically can actually abandon them in the first week. And what I've come to discover, it's not a lack of desire. It's definitely not that. But it's actually the absence of something that's really, really simple, a repeatable system. Now, I've spent time with a number of my clients and people that I've spoken to get to understand the resolution, the New Year's resolution. And I've come to realize that there's two very common ones. And these are the categories. Either it's something to do with health or it's something to do with finances. And what blows my mind, and I'm part of it, I'm guilty, what blows my mind is these are typically the two areas that we want to make the most change to, the improvements to. We want to lose the weight, or we want to look stronger or healthier, or just have that healthy body to get rid of whatever we have. Finances, we'd love to get that financial freedom that allows us to live that life that we always dreamed about. So, is there not a simple tap your nose 3 times and it just triggers and then it just goes into place? Imagine that. Tap your nose 3 times and bam, everything that you wanted to do just kind of becomes part of your day. Well, the truth is that only happens in a Pixar or Disney type of movie. Real life, we're actually sitting and we're waiting. And we're actually waiting because when we created that resolution, we had this motivation, we designed it, we had everything in place. We assumed our self-motivation and willpower would automatically kick in and allow us to just go ahead and do those actions and tasks to achieve that New Year's resolution. The truth of it is, self-motivation is not going to get this going. And willpower is going to burn out. Just like a battery on your phone, your mobile device, it does go flat. So what do we need to do? Well, we need that repeatable system. We need something that we can put into place that's going to give us the guidance on what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And that's the big, big part of it. So a question that I want to throw at you: which past resolution failed because you were relying on, well, let's call it motivation instead of a structured system? Think about it. I want you to feel this, not a pain, but this feel of, oh, yeah, I remember that. I wanted to take out, well, I wanted to lose weight. So I wanted to take out that gym contract. And then I was stuck in it for 3 years. Well, there was no structure that was behind it to keep you motivated, to keep you engaged, to keep going forward. And when I've spoken with clients, when I say to them, okay, when are you going to start? Let's talk about the structure. Let's talk about the system. And I get this common response: well, I'm going to start next week, or I'm going to start next month, or you know what? It's nearly towards the end of the year. We're going to start it in January again. And the trouble with that is we're just delaying and delaying and delaying. So I thought, why not assist you with a structure, something that you can start to implement to help you through this particular journey. So the next time you set up a resolution or a goal, by the way, because they're very similar, once you set it up, you can actually start to employ this structure to start going forward. Now, the first thing that I must be clear about, when we set our resolutions or our goals, many times we actually make it quite big. So we want to lose weight, and we have a large weight that we want to lose. We have this financial dream, and it's a large financial dream. And this is where it really needs to start, is we need to really take this goal, and we need to bring it all the way down to something small. Something that doesn't scare us. We don't want to lose 100 pounds or kilograms. We just want to lose a little bit. Something that can get us into this, call it the cycle. So the very first tip that I want to share with you is have a look at this challenge, because it is a challenge, these particular goals or resolutions. Have a look at this challenge and break it down into something that is smaller. Something that has manageable actions to it. So for instance, let's use the example of going to gym. I know we take out the gym contract, but then we got to get to the gym. We've then got to find the time to go to the gym. There's so many different factors that get placed in front of us that kind of prevents us from going to the gym. So why not? Well, every night, just pack your gym bag. Just have that packed and have it next to your bed. Now, it seems like something very, very simple. But when you pick up that gym bag in the morning, when you're going off to work, there's a level of, well, you know what? I've got the gym bag with me. I could, on my way home, just pop into gym. Now, it's not going to be the end-all solution, but that's one small action that you can take. Why? Well, if your gym bag's not packed, you'll wake up in the morning and you go, you know what, I'm tired. I didn't really sleep that well. And I now have to pack my gym bag. You know what? Let me just get to work quickly. Now you don't have a gym bag. Now you've given yourself an excuse and given yourself a reason not to go to gym. So just pack it the night before. Make sure that it's ready when you're actually going to bed. Just have the bag, shoes, pants, top, whatever the case may be, and have it ready. So in the morning, it's just pick up and go. There's one simple action that you can take. And it has a huge, huge impact because, well, now you've eliminated the excuse that you don't have your gym bag with you. So the very first tip is look at this resolution, this goal, this challenge, if we want to call it, and break it down into small, manageable tasks. And make sure that you start getting into the habit of doing it. Now, the great thing is you can actually enlist support with this. You could have a partner, a spouse that actually says, hey, have you done your gym bag in the evenings? Hey, yeah, and you've done it. So you get that support and that little bit of drive to go forward. So take that big challenge, break it down into smaller, very small, actionable tasks. And then over time, you can slowly start to increase that particular intensity. Maybe it's starting to say, well, in the evening, I make the gym bag. Then in the morning, I make the shake. Because it's something that's straightforward and simple. Just so that I've got it nice and ice and cold, I'll do that in the morning. Start small. Make it a consistent every single day, and you'll find that it actually gives you this platform to grow on as you're going forward. So that's the first tip. Big challenge, break it down into these small, manageable tasks that you can actually go forward. The second is actually designing the environment to be a success. So too often, when we wake up in the morning, and I'm continuing that example of a gym, when we wake up in the morning, there's a lot of, call it environmental factors that actually prevents us from actually doing a certain activity. So, for instance, you might have an alarm clock, which is the television that turns on in the morning, so that you could watch the news. And the news goes to the weather, and then the weather goes to the morning show, and the morning show goes to, well, that quick trailer on Netflix. And then, I'm late for work. And then you've got to shoot off to work. There could be certain things in your environment that is preventing you from actually doing the activity, that small activity that I spoke about in tip number 1. So we need to make sure that our environment is well suited and geared towards it. We want to make sure that we start removing any bad habits or behaviors that could infiltrate our particular day. And once we can identify them, then we can move forward. The challenge is to identify them. And here's a simple method. Look at the activities that you do in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Look at those activities and identify what are those activities that slows down your day. What are those activities that works against your challenge, your goal, your resolution? What are those activities that actually hinders your growth and your movement going forward? Once you can identify them, you start to delete them. You start to move them out of that particular environment. Now, I had one which was a bad habit. I was looking at trying to, stay healthy. And every time I opened the fridge, there was always something great inside the fridge. Piece of chocolate cake, maybe a leftover of a dessert from the night before. And ultimately, when I would make lunch, I would tend to move towards those because they were simple, they were quick, they were easy, they tasted fantastic, but they didn't do what I wanted it to do. So I got them removed. I made sure that I enlisted the support of my wife to say, hey, let's, instead of buying a big chocolate cake, let's just buy a slice of chocolate cake that we will finish together the night before. So that when I go into the fridge to go and make myself some lunch, it's not there. There's little things that we can actually do that can start to remove these bad behaviors, these bad habits that prevents us from starting to achieve that resolution, that goal, or accomplishing that challenge. So the second tip is look at your environment, design it for success, design it to support you in this particular activity that you're wanting to actually go forward with. And then the third one, and as a coach, this is one that it's so important to actually do it. You see, we always try and remember things in our heads, and it doesn't work. Because there's so much of life that happens, we can actually just put too much information inside of it and it gets deleted. The third tip is creating some form of tracker. A tracker where you can actually monitor your progress. You can actually start to reinforce your behaviors going forward. Now, within the one thing, we actually use what we refer to as a 66-day challenge. And I've spoken about this before, but a 66-day challenge is very straightforward. Just have a piece of paper and get it printed with 66 little blocks, each with a number inside, going from 1 through to 66. Well, that's fairly straightforward. It almost looks like a calendar month, but it's got 66 days. And what you want to do is at the top of the form, that little challenge of, you know what, I want to make sure that my gym bag is packed every single night. I pack my gym bag. I have this tracker, which is either next to the bed, on the mirror in the bathroom, maybe it's on the fridge door, somewhere where I can see it. Yes, I've done it, and I can mark it off with a cross. And ultimately, what I want to do is I want to get all 66 of those blocks with a little cross or a smiley face or a stamp. I want to make sure that I've done that for 66 days consecutively. Now, you might be saying, but Stuart, I only go to gym twice a week. Still make the bag. Get that habit of doing it, even if it's not a gym day. Get the bag made. pick it up and go, today's not gym day, but I'll still keep it with me because you know what? End of the office, I might decide to go and do maybe a little bit of 20 minutes on the treadmill. Maybe I'll do that. I don't have to go and do the full gym, but I can still do that. Why? Because I've got my gym bag with me. When we go through a habit tracker, it gives us this little motivation. Why? Well, one, it's visual. We can see our progress. Two, the people around us are going to go, hey, didn't you start the 7 days ago? You've only made one cross. What happened to the other days? Oh, right. Now you're feeling it like, you're being held accountable. That's why as a coach, we love trackers because it's an easy way for visually seeing your progress and hold yourself accountable because the people around you can actually see it. So create this little chart, 66 days. Now, why 66 days? Well, studies have shown that it takes on average 66 days to create and build a habit. Now, I will add to it, there are certain habits that might take shorter and some that might take longer. But the 66 days is a nice sweet spot. But I have a little caveat on it. Because if you miss a day, you've got to start from the beginning again. It's not that, well, today, Monday, I'll mark it off, and then, Thursday, I'll mark it off, and then 3 weeks' time, I'll mark it off. No, that doesn't work. It's got to be consecutive days. So just bear that in mind. Now, you might say, well, Stuart, I've got a professional activity. I don't work on Saturdays or Sundays or on Fridays or Saturdays, whatever the case may be. Well, then it's an office 66-day challenge, which means while you're in the office, you're doing those particular activities, Monday through to whenever, and marking them off and having that as consistency throughout the process. So use this 66-day challenge to track your progress. But remember at the top, just write out what is it that you're actually tracking so that somebody can actually hold you accountable to it. And what you're going to find is you're going to start creating this habit that's helping you to start moving forward. And before you know it, that resolution that you'd actually set, it actually starts to become a lifestyle. It starts to become, I want to say, well, achieved. That's what you really want to go out of it. So the quick little recap. Number one, take that challenge and break it down into these small, manageable activities. They'll feel like cheating. They'll feel so small that it's insignificant, but that's what we want. We want it so small that you can do it. Two, make sure that your environment around you is not preventing you from doing it. So have a look at around. What is actually holding you back? What is that one item or the people? What is it that's preventing you from achieving your success? And number three, track your progress so that you can actually reinforce that behavior and use that 66-day challenge. It really, really works. And if you want to learn more about it, well, you could jump onto my website at stuarthyslop.com, and in the top right-hand corner of the actual page, you'll see a little button, book a free clarity call. And I can actually sit down with you and actually help you to identify that challenge, break it down into that small activity, get you to start identifying the challenges that are preventing you from doing your activity and set up that 66-day challenge so that you can start getting into that path of success. Because it is something that is in your control. You don't need the willpower. You don't need that self-motivation. It'll actually become autonomous and you'll do it on a consistent basis. Now, I want to share a quote, which is, I want to say, part of the one of these quotes that really stands out. And it comes from F.M. Alexander. People don't decide their futures. They decide their habits. And it's their habits that decide their futures. Think about that. People don't decide their futures. Their habit decides their future. And it's their future It's their habits that decide their future. There we go. I got the whole thing right. So people don't decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. So make sure that you actually decide on the habit that you want to take so that you can live the future that you want by design. Now, if you enjoyed this particular session, I want you to sit down and just take one thing from this particular session and implement it. If it's a matter of booking a call with me, or if it's something as simple as just identifying the resolution that you gave up on a couple of years ago and breaking it down, just do one thing, because this is the action that's going to go forward. Just remember, learning, it creates the awareness, but it's the actions that creates the results. I look forward to seeing you in our next session.